Hello there. I hope you're doing great today. My name is Jay Riggs, and on behalf of Ethan Davis and Justin Boya in our group, we would like to introduce you to our character, Marco Giordano, a 27-year-old Italian man living in the United States. He has a 3-year-old son and was recently left by his now ex-wife, but we'll get into all of that later. Taking a step back into his childhood, Marco was raised by an emotionally unavailable mother and a father who had a heavy addiction to alcohol. Unfortunately for Marco, he has a genetic predisposition to addiction from his father's side of the family. Having this trait inherited causes Marco to later battle with addiction in his life. He actually ends up developing a coping mechanism of using substances such as alcohol to reduce negative conflict caused by stress. But we will once again get into that more in a moment. As far as how he was raised in his childhood, Marco grew up in the fusion of Italian culture in America. He was taught by his father that he must work to live rather than live to work. And because he was a man, he was taught that gender demands he take care of his family and remain strong, not showing weakness when faced with adversity. As he matures, Marco starts to see a lot of how his father's parenting is flawed and the trauma that was put on him as a child. These traumatic experiences help Marco to develop a high sense of resilience, allowing him to adapt to the difficult life experiences he has faced and thus preparing for future adversities. As he becomes a young adult, Marco falls into a drinking addiction, similar to his father. He struggles to truly cope with the trauma and stress he has experienced in life before he eventually finds himself to God, someone he had previously seen as unloving due to his father's depiction of him. Marco learns what it truly means to be saved by Jesus and becomes a devout Christian, ultimately bringing him out of his alcohol addiction. His attachment to God becomes close, and Marco learns to rely on God's support and love to cope with conflict caused by stress. As he continues to grow into his mid-20s, Marco falls in love and marries a woman, to which they have a child together a few years later. Marco soon learns that his newborn son has autism and begins to struggle with his ideas on how to raise him efficiently. Beginning to understand neurodiversity and how there's an infinite variation of neurocognitive functioning in humans, Marco looks to his wife for support. Unfortunately, though, he is taken aback when his wife instead chooses to leave him and their son out of fear of failure to be a proper parent. Faced with the sudden change in character, Marco begins to learn about theory of mind and sees how his now ex-wife had different beliefs, emotions, and perceptions than he did when it came to being a parent, and he saw how they then affected her actions. Despite this tragedy, Marco utilizes his high resilience to stand strong as he was raised to do. Marco begins the journey of parenting alone and quickly learns that he has the parenting styles of authoritarian and authoritative. He exhibits authoritarian parenting after being experienced to it by his father for such a long time and sees how important it is for him as a father to stress obedience to his son. However, he also experiences authoritative parenting by encouraging his son's autonomy, and he develops this parenting style after being exposed to several stereotypes towards those similar to him, such as how Italian parents are emotionally unavailable and single parents do not raise well-rounded children most times. Seeing these beliefs and expectations of his qualities as a single Italian parent by those he doesn't even know, this causes Marco to interact with his high resiliency, vowing not to be overbearing on his son, and instead allowing him to grow fully in the world. Despite the trauma and stress faced in his life, Marco Giordano continues to flourish in this world, ready to face whatever adversities come his way next. Thank you so much for watching, and please let us know what you think.